Welcome to Pagan Coffee Talk. Here are your hosts, Oswin and Lord Knight. Today's topic is, my karma ran over my dogma. Thought you'd like that.
Okay, this is about karma. All right?
Yes.
And my issues therefore of, right?
Yes.
My understanding of karma is you do something either good or bad. Some deity somewhere marks something on a chalkboard, and then as you go through their life, they dispense a certain amount of justice to compensate for those things, and if it goes all the way up to the end of your life, it could affect you into your next life.
Right, that's my understanding as well.
Well, I mean, the whole entire, affecting you to your next life, this is in with a simple question. If we could identify souls, all right, let's say we had a device and you could fingerprint a soul.
Right.
So you know whose soul's moving where, all right? You could technically track down Hitler's soul and find him.
Right.
All right, so the question becomes, if we could do this, all right, and we got some serial killer that went out and killed a bunch of people who's going to serve multiple life sentences. They die in prison, get reborn, we identify the souls. Do we put that baby straight into jail because it's the same soul and they were convicted to do multiple life sentences to make sure that the punishment sticks?
Right, because that would essentially be karma.
That would essentially be karma. All right? Everybody I've asked this question goes, no, that just don't sound right. Or they do it from, oh, we shouldn't do that. The universe should. As if it's a higher authority judging us one way or the other.
Right, but if you look at it from the perspective of the universe is the police,
Mm-hmm.
and the universe is putting that baby in prison because of something that soul did in the past.
What that baby...
It's still the same concept.
Right. Still the same concept. That baby's going to be born in a less wealthier family, or is going to be down the chain of class.
Right.
All right, because again, everybody has to remember, this comes from a country who still has a class system.
Yes.
It doesn't work in the United States because we don't have a class system. I can become just as rich and get into that top 1% as much as anybody else. I have just as many opportunities and chances of doing it. You see what I'm saying?
Right, but we do still have a class system.
Well, we have class system. We actually have a money system.
Okay.
More than a class system.
Okay.
If you have a little bit of money, you can go to this store. If you got a little bit more money, you can go to this kind of store. If you got a little bit more, you can go to this really, really fancy store. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, so you're talking a little different than you make X amount of money, therefore you're considered middle class.
Right. An actual class system, regardless of how much you make, no. You can only stay with the poor people.
Right.
Even though you're the richest of the poor people, you're still got to be there because that was the class you were born into.
Right. You were born into that, so therefore that's what you are.
Right. You're middle class. That's it. You can never be an elite. You can never go, well, you might be able to go down, but you're stuck there in that role.
Right.
Socially, economically, the whole 9 yards. All right. That's why I have a problem with this, because I live in a country where we don't have this problem.
Right.
I can go join yachting club as long as I got the money to do it.
Right.
There's nothing there going, okay, no. You're from this part of town, so therefore you're not allowed. Is not what's going on here.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense.
So I don't see where in the world people's problem is.
But what does that have to do with karma?
Well, the simple is you can't do that here, because part of karma is that if you get in trouble, that you will be in a lower class than you were before. You will be reborn into a lower class. You are being punished.
Oh, okay.
If you do good and stuff, you get to move up to the next class of people. Do you see what I'm saying there?
Yeah.
This is a way to keep the classes in place.
And it's also kind of a way to population control. And I don't mean as in numbers. It's another way to control people.
It's another way to control people. We've all known this. But again, like I said, we don't have it here in the United States, so it's hard for us to imagine. I hate to be this way. Look at Babylon 5 and the Minbari. They have a class system.
Right.
They only have 3 classes: religious, warrior, or worker.
Right.
And when you are born in one of these classes, you are stuck there. You're not allowed to do anything else. Your family forces you to do this behavior.
Right.
If you're born in the religious class, you're forced to go to the religious studies. You can't become a warrior.
Or a worker.
Or a worker. And workers can't become you either.
Right.
This is how class systems actually work. Like you said, it's a form of control. Of course, there's always fewer people in the upper classes compared to the lower classes. Go figure. But, and again, like I said, in the United States, I don't see where we have this problem.
No.
You know, if I'm born poor, I can become rich. I can be born rich and be poor the very next day. Class has nothing to do with it.
Right. No, that's the joy of capitalism.
Actually, it is. And actually, and again, it does give us a certain amount of freedom. I have talked before that pagan families should be socialist. They should take care of one another, make sure everybody gets fed, even as y'all get older. But outside of that, we need a capitalist society.
Right.
Again, there's that balance that we seem to like. You know, where we actually have 2 different systems going on at the same time.
Right.
It's just one's a lower level.
Which is appropriate.
Appropriate. Families that have that uncle who would normally get in trouble in this type of situation, in this type of family I'm talking about, they're kept on the farm. They're kept on the land. They're allowed to drink and whatever as long as they're at home. As soon as they go out, brothers and sisters suddenly go out, get them, retrieve them, and bring them back before they do something wrong.
Right.
Like get into a bar fight or hook up with the wrong.
Right.
You know, what do you think?
I think that's a perfect example. And I think, I'm not a follower of karma. I've joked about it in the past, but it's not anything I really believe in.
I'm sorry. I just see it as a dogmatic system. It is put there to make you feel guilty.
Right.
To make you feel bad about stuff, you know, which doesn't help anybody else.
No. I mean, if I feel bad about something, that's all me. That's not because of what somebody else is imposing on me.
Well, you see, we still have this problem of people accepting responsibility for their actions.
Right.
Their own actions. And not blaming everybody else under the sun.
Right, which we talked about before.
Right.
Where it's, oh, that's just karma.
Well, see, I also seen it get
or the devil made me do it.
Well, I'm seeing this getting to the point to where I actually had a conversation with a lady on a Discord. And she kept on sitting there going, well, for some reason, she's special. And her karma seems to abuse her daughter every time she has bad thoughts. Her daughter seems to have an accident. You know what that translates to me is you have bad thoughts and your daughter ain't paying attention to where in the world she's walking.
Right.
It's a whole lot simpler than that. If you think that somehow the rules don't apply to you, you might want to rethink that.
Yeah, I mean, that just seems to me like you're finding excuses for your daughter's behavior.
Or you're teaching your daughter to blame karma. Anytime something goes wrong, well, that ain't my fault, it was karma.
Right. And I mean, it could be anything, but yeah, you're teaching her not to take responsibility.
You're teaching her to be a victim. Because again, you're only a victim when things are taken out of your hands.
Right.
When you're not allowed to make decisions and stuff like that, that's when you become a victim.
Right.
All right? You don't become a victim because, ooh, this big unknown force over here has made me to make this choice.
Right.
I didn't see no gun at your head.
No.
it is better to accept responsibilities for your actions than trying to argue or debate or try to
blame it on something else.
Blame it on something else. I mean, we've talked about this multiple times.
Right. Well, I mean, it's a big issue, especially for us.
Yeah.
Take responsibility for yourself.
I mean, how hard is this? Why can't people do this? Why can't people just say, okay, I screwed up?
I don't know. It seems like outside of our generation, well, I should say in the younger generations, the ones that came after us.
Yeah.
Right? We're Gen X. If that gives anybody any indication where we're coming from. It just seems like for whatever reason, Gen Xers started bringing their kids up with that victim mentality. And then it's been passed on to the other generations, and it keeps getting worse.
I mean, do you want me to sit there and say bad things don't happen to good people? I can't.
No, because they do.
They do.
And good things happen to bad people. I mean,
it's quite random.
It really is.
And I'm sorry. And for me to believe in anything like this, I have to believe it has to be consistent. And I'm sorry, I have met too many of these slimy businessmen at a local level. Yeah, they might have lost some money here or there doing business deals and stuff, but they're still rich. They're still influenceable. Yes. They are still here in our community. Nothing has happened.
Nope.
And I'm sorry, I do not see the results of this. And the only time I do see it's where you see the videos on YouTube or whatever of the instant karma.
Oh, yeah.
And the majority of the times when you're watching it, it looks like stupidity to me. Somebody not paying attention to what in the world they're doing because they're too upset.
Right.
This is just happens to be funny that this happened right after this.
Right.
But real karma seems to happen. Yes, you know, did you break your arm because you broke your mom's lamp when you were 3? I mean, honestly, and at what point do we sit there and go, okay, this is just getting a little too much?
Right.
Where I think majority of people get in trouble is when they break their word, when they don't keep their word and what they say. Shit happens.
Yes, it does.
You know? And I'm sorry, you might be able to get away with it for a little while, but it don't. After a while, it will catch up with you. So that's all I got to say.
But no, is that considered karma?
I have no idea. It could be considered a backlash of a spell, because a real backlash of a spell, which I just explained this to somebody, works like this. And unfortunately, I have to use the concept of a curse to explain this.
Right.
All right. So you do a curse. You build up all this energy to where in the world you would kill this person if they were right there in front of you. You send this in and you use what last bit of conscious thought you actually have that's not all emotional. And suddenly you send that energy out. Now, we've argued that everything has to do with will. Right. So if you send this spell out to somebody who has a stronger will than you, then that spell will like rebuff off their shields because it can't penetrate it. It's not strong enough. It's not powerful enough.
Right.
That energy then has to finish its course and go right back to you where it came from. This is your energy. It's attuned to your frequencies and stuff like that. It just sort of passes through all your shields and just all there.
Right.
A perfect situation of your own device, per se.
Right.
Because the curse couldn't latch onto where it was supposed to go. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, yeah.
That to me is a real backlash of spell versus what you hear the majority of the time, which is really stupidity.
Okay.
I mean, what else do you want me to say about karma? I mean, we've talked about all these scenarios and stuff, and
right.
I'm sorry. Karma to me is just another dogmatic system to keep you in place, to keep you not thinking, to give excuses, and to keep moving along because nothing is your fault.
So then basically we just need to get out of this victim mentality, start taking responsibility for our own actions and for ourselves, our actions, our words, our deeds, everything.
everything.
Take responsibility.
Take responsibility.
And be done with it. Quit blaming something else.
All right.
Or someone else.
Right. When your car breaks down, yes, it's your fault because you didn't do maintenance.
Right.
Can't get mad at nobody. You screw up at work. Look at your boss. Go, I screwed this up. Here.
Right.
How do I fix it?
Right.
How do I make sure I don't do it again? You see, and there's the problem. There's the problem in the community at large. Nobody's fixing problems anymore. It's all excuses and pass the buck and move along.
Right.
We're going to ignore what in the world we did and just keep it going. Nobody's taking time to go, okay, maybe I should have did this a little bit different. What did I do here wrong? Why did this upset so many people?
Well, and if it's something that you've put out on the social media as well, it wouldn't hurt after you've done that analysis and examined it to go back and just plainly tell your followers, hey, look, I screwed up. I looked at the situation. I analyzed it. This is what I can figure what went wrong. This is what I did. This is how I think you should avoid it.
What's so bad about that?
What's so hard about that?
I don't make no sense. My father was a mechanic.
Right.
And maybe it's something because I learned it so early on, but when we would work on cars and do things, Dad, why did it do that? Here's why. Because you have to ask the right questions.
Right.
And the majority of the right questions always start with the following phrase. Why?
Absolutely. God, how many times do we tell our students, ask why?
Ask why. Why do you believe that way? Why do you think that? Why do you believe that? And I'm sorry, if the answers come back just because or I read it in a book, you might want to rethink that.
Right.
You know, I mean,
look at it like a kid. You know, kids get into that curious phase and they're always asking why.
See, I mean, because I have the same problem because you get the same answers with Christianity because God said so.
Right.
And don't get me wrong.
That's what the Bible says.
I'm not kicking Christians, but these are their answers. These are the same answers that they give where we get those same answers in the pagan community.
Right.
Well, you know, it's just karma. It's just this. It's that. Instead of, okay, where's your responsibility on this?
It's probably a different topic, but I've noticed so many people, and I hate to keep bringing up Christianity, but I hear so many pagans talking bad about Christianity, but then they turn around, well, the goddess willed it.
They say Christians
the
say
God
the same.
saw fit for this to happen.
Right.
Hello? That's a carryover.
Yep.
Christians say the same thing, and a lot of people we know came to paganism from Christianity.
I mean, because majority, as far as I know.
So you've carried that thought process over.
Because as far as I know, in most pagan traditions, we actually believe that the gods have less intervention in our lives than what Christians believe.
Yes.
Believe it or not. I mean, we don't.
At least that's the case for us.
I mean, we tend to believe that the gods sort of go on about their business and will communicate with us. I mean,
right.
This is like your next door neighbor.
Exactly.
They're not involved in your day-to-day activities, but hey, you know, you'll say hey to them or pet your dog or talk to you for a little bit.
Right.
And keep on going. This is the way we see deities. We don't see them, oh, well, they did this for you to learn or they did that for you to learn. No,
right.
We believe you did that to yourself. You tripped, you fell. You did it to yourself by not paying attention.
Right.
Maybe this is maybe we should do a segment on the KISS method.
I'll put that in the bag.
It will be a short one.
It will, but I'll put it in the bag.
Because it's simple. Keep it simple, stupid.
Right.
People do want to make this stuff more complicated than it needs to be. And again, I think majority of the times people who do that, who make things more complicated than what they need to, are doing it to make themselves look smarter than what world they actually are.
Yeah, I can see that.
I mean, I hate to be this way. Techs do it all the time.
Oh, sure they do.
When computers first came out, everybody was like all up in it. But once you learned it and all this, to me, it's like Legos. But yet, if I was to sit there and describe it to and use that language that texts use, I've seen people just sit there and get that gloss face look.
Right.
On their, why? Why make it more complicated than it needs to be? Why do we have to have this whole karma rule thing? That's more complicated than it needs to be.
Right.
It's simpler than that. My honest belief is no gods, no deity, no special being is sitting out there in front of some type of paper or something and sitting there going, well, Knight did something bad here, and I got to put a check here and here and here and here and here. Here.
Well, look, we've got 5 pages for him.
We got 5 pages of naughty. Oh, one good. I don't see it happening that way.
Right.
The way you hear people talk about it, that's what it sounds like's going on.
Yeah.
I don't see it. I could be wrong.
Could be.
I'll admit that I could be wrong. Wouldn't be the first time, won't be the last.
But I'll have to admit, it makes sense to me.
I just see karma as more of a dogmatic system, like you have in Christianity and all the other religions, and I came to get away from that.
Right.
Because it didn't help. It doesn't always help. Does it help some people? Yes.
Yeah, I think it does. It has its place.
It has its place. To me, yes, it's mainly for kids.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to be that way. I mean, to me, this is a philosophy of a child.
I mean, it's a great way to teach consequences to a kid.
And responsibility and all this, but do you see what I mean?
But at some point, you need to get them out of that.
Right. The whole entire thought behind, I mean, and don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to knock karma or the religion it came from and all that. It's just, to me, it just seems a little too
dogmatic
to actually do any good.
Right.
So that's about it. I'm
okay.
out of coffee.
Thanks for listening. Join us next week for another episode. Pagan Coffee Talk is brought to you by Life Temple and Seminary. Please visit us at lifetempleseminary.org for more information, as well as links to our social media: Facebook, Discord, Twitter, YouTube, and Reddit.
We travel down this trodden path, a maze of stone and mire. Just hold my hand as we pass by a sea of blazing pyres. And so it is the end of our days, so walk with me till morning breaks. And so it is the end of our days, so walk with me till morning.